5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Gather around, Skull brothers and sisters. This is the Skull Experience, back by popular demand, or at least I wanted to do it. I brought the Italian from northern Minnesota, also known as Canada, Mike Cassiano. Dude, what's up, man? It's been a long time.
No, I'm okay, Dave. You know, a lot has changed since last time I talked to you with the Vikings. Really a lot of success, a lot of ups, a lot of downs. Nothing really new, though. Same old Vikings, you know, just different ways of getting there, I guess.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. I don't know. We probably haven't talked since like 2023, so that's that season. So it's been a while. Lots has happened. Where were you in the off season in 2020? When we signed Sam Darnold right after we couldn't re-sign Kirk Cousins. Like, what was your feeling about that situation? I was
Sure.
called the Sam Darnold hater. People were on top of me. I said, hey, he's our quarterback. I'm gonna back his ass. He needs to win the job. I don't want it handed to him. But I was pulling for JJ McCarthy to just give him a chance to take over. And I think they were almost giving him a chance until he got hurt. But where were you, like, when he signed, and then right before the injury?
Yeah, if you think you were a hater, I must have been higher up on the list. I couldn't stand the signing. I didn't want Sam Darnold. I was adamant on Twitter. I didn't want Sam Darnold. And even when he was having success, I said week in, week out, 1 week at a time. Because as much as I enjoyed the season and some of the great throws he made, I truly believed it was going to end the way it did at some point. But on to McCarthy, I actually agree with you wholeheartedly. I think McCarthy was going to win that job. And a lot of people forget, in the scrimmages with Cleveland, Darnold was trash. He was not good. He was struggling. I remember he threw, I believe, a pick 6 to Cleveland too in those scrimmages. He would have lost the job to JJ McCarthy. So to me, I'm glad how it all shook out, I guess, because at the end of the day, if Darnold wasn't going to win in the postseason, which is what I care about most, and he proved that, I want a true winner, and JJ McCarthy's been that since he was in high school. So I'm very happy that that's the direction we're heading in. Yeah, I wanted McCarthy to start last year, but unfortunately his injury, I was bummed out for 48 hours after that. Like, I was so mad. But yeah, it is what it is. That's my take on that. Yeah, I wanted McCarthy last year. Fortunately,
my take at the time of the injury, I was telling, hey, I don't think we lost games because McCarthy being injured. I didn't feel like I felt like it was going to be more about the team, and then the quarterback just had to kind of manage it. But that's not what we got. When right away, Sam Darnold was slinging that ball, and we found out he was a deep ball thrower after being like a 6.5 per attempt guy. He's now 8.5, 9. And it's like he couldn't throw intermediate or short passes, but he was slinging the ball down the field. Where were you after 2 or 3 weeks of him slinging the ball over the place?
I loved it. But like I said, I still, and I bothered a lot of people, I said 1 week at a time. Because even when we were 14-2, I still said, I just hope he beats Detroit. I was 1 week at a time because I didn't want to hurt myself. I've been down this road as a Vikings fan. You try to lessen expectations with this team because I don't know how they do it. One way or another, it finds a way to hurt you somehow.
When he had one of the best games of a Viking quarterback ever had against the Packers, you were still like 1 week at a time.
To some extent. I always said, my take basically all season was, I need to see it in the playoffs. I need to win. I need to see him win in the playoffs before I actually want him back. Now, I'm not going to lie. I enjoyed it. It was awesome. I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy seeing Sam Darnold play. It was fun to watch. But I was just back in my mind, like, is this going to somehow revert back? And somehow it did. I don't know how, because Kevin him were perfect wavelength. Like they were great together. They had the perfect connection. But somehow it fell apart those last 2 games. But yeah, I was enjoying it throughout the season. It was awesome. I retweeted that video of him on top of the guy's shoulders, getting water balls thrown all over himself. It was great. It was awesome. But I was always worried about just keep it going. Can it continue? And unfortunately, it didn't.
Yeah, so like after that Lions game, I was like, okay, he overthrew people, that's correctable, whatever. The rush was coming at him, we'll adjust, whatever.
Mhm.
Well, there were people open in that freaking Rams game,
Yeah.
and he wasn't throwing it, and he was eating the ball, and he broke a record for the most sacks of the game. After seeing that, how bad he played in that game, I was let's move on. We got to move on. I felt like JJ McCarthy on his worst day was going to play that bad. And so maybe Sam Darnold could probably play, have a higher high in a season right now where JJ McCarthy is. But I don't think JJ McCarthy or anybody's going to have that low. It's probably one of the worst games I've ever seen a Vikings quarterback come. Maybe not as bad as what's his name?
Freeman.
Freeman. You knew who I was talking about. Maybe not as bad as that game.
The game against the Giants.
But watch him just eat sack after sack after sack, I just couldn't. It was terrible. But now let's move on. And we're going to talk about all the free agent moves. But now one thing I always talk about, I love about the Vikings is they don't show their cards. We don't know what they're doing. They don't. There's no leaking. I'm trying. There we go. We got a header up there. So there's barely any leaking ever out of this unless they want it to be known. And there was a lot of anger that why weren't the Vikings coming out and saying, hey, we're JJ McCarthy's our quarterback. We're not interested in Aaron Rodgers. I'm like, why would you? Why wouldn't you want other teams to overpay for Aaron Rodgers or hold your cards and up somebody else's value on a player? I don't see any problem with that, or kick the tires for that matter. I stopped hating Aaron Rodgers when he left the Packers. I figured that out. I hate the Packers. I maybe the only other guy that I probably hate is Darren Sharper. Because of what he ended up being. But, I ended up hating him later, but he came to the Vikings and I was loving him. I thought he was going to be a Hall of Famer. He threw that out of the window. But I couldn't really name a player that I hate right now. I can name a coach, Sean Payton, but I can't name a player out there that I would be, okay, he's on my team, I can root for him. But the Vikings weren't coming out and saying anything. But one thing that popped out on me is Paul Allen basically works for the Vikings. And he probably has insight. And I don't think he was risking his job. You wouldn't do that to say, hey, there's no way in hell we're going to bring in Aaron Rodgers. That kind of quashed it for me, honestly. What was your thoughts on the whole process?
I do think it was a little weird. I will say that. And though I actually was kind of in favor of bringing in Rodgers, I'm not going to lie, because the nostalgia factor of him doing the Favre thing would have been kind of cool.
It's kind of like how we saw each other again as you were showing up on my timeline. And I was like commenting because we were seeing people just absolutely did not want to watch the Vikings.
Yeah.
If we were to sign Aaron Rodgers, I'm like, what? We had a guard accused with credible allegations of statutory rape, and starting at left guard for 2 years, and you guys weren't saying I don't want to be a fan anymore.
That's a great point.
Aaron Rodgers has done nothing.
No.
In his life, other than be distant from his family.
He's a weird dude.
Oh, yeah,
that's a great point.
They're all weird, honestly.
I said that to people too on a Spaces I did. I said, look, you don't have to like Aaron Rodgers. The guy's not a criminal. Like, he didn't do anything to where you'd look at him and say, I can't support this entirely. Like, There's been a lot, and I'm going to be honest. There's been a lot worse people that have played in the National Football League.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
Darren Sharper being one of them. Funny enough.
I'm pretty sure everybody would be pretty freaking happy if we got the Cheetah come play for us. And
that's correct.
He's done some shit. So it's for me it was. I mean, you don't really. He was going to be the vice. He was asked to be the vice president for Bobby Kennedy Jr. and then just hearing his political stuff on things he would talk about and supposedly conspiracy theories. I think people were there was a certain group of people that just said I can't have that. Then there's a certain group of people that are like, oh, he's a Packer, I can't have that. I can understand them a little bit more. But then there's a crowd that he's washed up, and I'm like, dude, let's just hope JJ McCarthy throws 28 touchdowns this year.
211 picks, by the way. To only 11
picks and 28 touchdowns. 3 of them were against us, so he only had 8 the rest of the season. So yeah, and my thought to them is if he does come over here, okay, they thought he was going to be good, but I'm like, it just didn't. It just. And I tried to say, hey, do they have that? Did the Jets? They said, well, the Jets didn't want him. That was that I thought was the stupidest argument. The Jets didn't want him, then why would we? We just won 14 games with Sam Darnold, who was a Jet. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And then I'm like, what was I going to say? So, and then just that whole thought process there. We won 14 games. With Sam Darnold, and we don't want this guy. And I'm like, also, did they have our coaches? Did they have our receivers? Did they have our tight end? Did they have our defensive coach? No, they didn't. They have our owners. They have our facilities. No, they didn't. You can't compare 2 different dying franchise to one that's top of the heap right now as far as where people want to play. So that was my thought process, is that you're hating him for like you're making shit up. And this is what I hate. People would crap on like Bo Nix, and I think you didn't like him either.
No, I didn't. I'll admit it.
Yeah.
I still don't think he's that great.
I was like, I don't know what's wrong with him. Honestly, that's what I was telling people. I don't know what these guys are seeing. I think people crap on players they don't want just to make the player they want seem better. And I'm like, it was like, for instance, like JJ McCarthy, he was just, he was just working in the system. He just wasn't allowed to do all that stuff. And I'm like, well, and I said, well, you could say the same shit about Bo Nix, except he did it at 3,800 yards a season or 4,000 yards a season for like 3 seasons. I'm like, so there's production there. You can't have the argument that, that's the way I look at it. People are crapping on him. And I'm not saying I didn't even want Rodgers. So if you're this deep into the video and you're still with me, I didn't want Rodgers. I wanted JJ McCarthy to start just like I did last year with Sam Darnold. But I just felt like it was a stupid argument that we wouldn't take Aaron Rodgers because the Jets didn't want him. I'm like, there you have it.
Sure. No, one other thing I didn't like about Bo Nix, just because you brought it up, he is old for a comparison to the guys in this class.
Is he 24?
That is pretty old for a quarterback coming out, but especially when you consider McCarthy
came out, but now he's
20. But McCarthy's what 20, 21, 22.
He turned 22 recently.
22. So
yeah, I mean, I had to be.
But I knew Denver would be a good fit for him. Sean Payton, I can't stand his guts. You put a half decent quarterback with Sean Payton, it will work.
Yeah,
it will.
I mean, I thought he struggled a little bit early, but they all did, right? They all do. And when he started coming around and threw like 4 touchdowns one game, I'm like, I say to somebody, "Is this good?" I don't know. Is this good? It's like when Cousins threw like 509 yards, and I went to the chat and I go, "Hey guys, is 509 yards good?" After they've been crapping on him, and like, so I always find it funny that people crap on somebody so bad, but when they have a stretch of like 4 good games, they're quiet as shit, and they wait till that 2 interception game to like, oh, see, I told you it's terrible. But I just want to be so, and this is the way I looked at it. with not having not even fathoming the idea of having another quarterback, that people want to be right so much they'd rather be right than win.
Yep, I agree. I completely agree. As stupid as that sounds,
I can name names.
I completely agree.
I'm not going to.
I completely agree. There are some people who would rather. Well, there was that one K-fan guy that put out that tweet about, he's like 50-something years old, and he'd rather, this is back to the Rodgers thing, that he'd rather never see the Vikings win a championship to see his only French championship be with Aaron Rodgers. Which, again, I'm not going to sit here and say I was like...
Not my first choice, but...
I liked the idea. I'm not going to lie. But I wasn't going to sit here and criticize either way. They did it great. If they didn't, which it seems to be the case now, fine.
And we could always say, hey, he won just as many with us as he did with you guys.
Yeah, that was part of my thing too. That was my thing too.
1 year, and he took you 20.
Yeah. I wanted to finish the Favre story. What was it, 14 years later? But it is what it is.
We would have won that Super Bowl.
Jared Allen said it. Every time I see any of those players talk about that 09 team, it still hurts me a little bit. You still feel it because they would have humiliated the Colts. Colts couldn't stop the run. We had AP.
Yeah, we would have won that one.
Yep.
The ball.
Yep.
But so free agency overall. I want to talk about this one guy, cornerback Jeff Okudah. Top 10 pick. I think I was
third, number 3, Ohio State.
Yeah, so like a can't miss type prospect.
Yeah, he was supposed to be.
I look at some of his highlights or lowlights or whatever on. I think he only played like 80 snaps or something like that this last season.
Mm-hmm.
I look and I'm like, he can't press off the ball. The receivers get the best of him is what I was seeing, but there's not enough to look at. And I honestly, I went back and looked at college, and I just didn't think he faced that greater receivers in the Big Ten, consistently, in my opinion. Maybe might have been the reason why he still didn't look like he had great footwork, but he was good enough because the competition wasn't as great at receiver in the Big Ten. Because all the good receivers, you'd think he would be with all the good Ohio State receivers he probably had to face. Because all the good receivers in the Big Ten, or the Big, I don't know what they call it now.
Sure, whatever.
Are in Ohio State. But I look at him and I'm like, let's try him at safety. He can tackle very well. He closes very well. He's big enough. He's like 6'1", 200. He's big enough to play safety. I'd try him out. What do you think?
I'm not gonna lie. When they brought him in for the visit, I'm like, I hope they don't sign him. But in the back of my mind, I've known Questy's history with visits has been incredible. By the way, I hope Questy gets extended, and I've been one of his biggest critics. The job he did this offseason was immaculate.
Right now, Mike, apologize to Questy.
Yeah, I was wrong. I was definitely wrong about him as a GM overall. I still would love to see some production in the draft, but I do believe Dallas, Turner, and McCarthy. I think Turner and McCarthy will stop that. I don't say narrative, but that take this upcoming season. And I have thought about this too. A lot of people don't realize there's been a lot of bad luck, and I'm not trying to be that guy, but Questy's even admitted it publicly that he was too aggressive his first draft, and he made a mistake, but he's learned from it. But back to
too many holes. Or something
yes, he admitted it. He said it.
Fix the whole team with one draft.
And I respect the thought process in the sense of wanting that, but it's easier said than done. The NFL, Rome wasn't been built in a day or a week, whatever the term is. But anyway, back to Okudah. If it's ever going to work, Brian Flores is his last chance to ever get what he was as a third overall pick to the Detroit Lions. Mind you, with where the Lions are now, it would be incredibly funny if he actually turned it around with us and had an impact against this whole team. That would be hilarious. But if it's ever going to work, it's going to be with this team. And the 3 safety look thing, I mean, if they give him a chance, I wouldn't hate it. We could use the depth at safety if he shows something and they give him a chance elsewhere. If he's
I just saw
better
skills
elsewhere
there.
Sure.
Like recovery skills. I saw recovery skills when he was back and the pass was in the air, his closing was good. But I mean, one of the things I heard about, said about him, and he's like one of the worst cover corners on cover corners
Mm-hmm.
on PFF.
Yeah.
And I'm, and I'm like, well, I don't think that was what he was thought to be. I think thinking that he was supposed to be a cover corner coming out of college.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like the fact that he's probably he's going to be our tallest corner, or one of the taller ones.
Yeah, he would be the tallest, I think, in the room. I do believe so.
I forget what's his name that we got last year in
UDFA.
UDFA. He was
Dwight McLaughlin.
Yeah, McLaughlin. I think about the same height. But here, so new arrivals. Oh, Eric Wilson back. What'd you think of that?
I love it.
Move?
I love it.
Yeah,
I think he's a massive upgrade. No respect to Kamu. He's better than him. And obviously he's going to walk at free HC. I love it. I mean, he was playing and had a significant role in the Packers last season. He's fantastic. As a depth guy, you can't do much better than Eric Wilson. I still remember those days with Zimmer, that game against Seattle. Like, he's a good player. Hard worker. He'll give you everything he has. I love that one.
Needed. It was definitely depth we needed.
Yes.
Now, I don't know much about these two guys, so you tell me.
Sure.
Tavir Thomas, cornerback from the Buccaneers, and Justin School, offensive tackle from the Buccaneers. Give me your 2 cents on those guys.
From what I've seen online, the swing tackle for Tampa is really good. Good depth piece. He's going to be a really good swing tackle. Really good pass blocking and run blocking, which I love. Really well from talking to me in the past, I can't stand guys that cannot pass block. And with Jackson, I believe his last name is, the corner, really good special teams.
Thomas.
Sorry. Thomas.
Special teamer?
He's a really good special teams guy. Okay. He'll probably be fighting with Najee Thompson for that spot. Maybe not gunner, but for the special teams corner.
Let me go with one of the guys I had no idea even thinking about on my radar, because I was a big DJ Reed guy. And when he went somewhere else, I was like, oh shit, this draft's going bad, but I didn't tweet about it. I said, like,
to Detroit too.
Yeah, that was the worst part. He went to Detroit, and I'm like, oh shit, I don't want to face him now. And then I'm like, okay, day 2, there's still all these guys out there that I like. Guy that I didn't even have on my radar, and I should have thought about it, because he had posted a picture of a mannequin with his Eagles jersey from the Super Bowl, and that got spread around and got viral. And it was Isaiah Rodgers, and I'm like, holy, that's the same guy that posted that. Oh, and he's on our team. Tell me what you think about him. That was kind of a surprise for me.
I think this was one of my favorite signings for the term and the price. He did a fantastic job for the Eagles last year. And if I'm being honest, he would have made a lot more money in free agency had he not gotten that gambling scandal a couple years ago with the Colts.
Pro Bowler. Yes,
the guy is very good. He's a fantastic player. He will be a plug-and-play starter. And he's an outside guy. Like, you can see clips of last season, him on Jamar Chase. Like, the guy's not afraid. He's a baller, hard worker, and you talk about championship standard. Well, he won the Super Bowl, and he was a massive, massive player on that Eagles team. I love that signing. I think it was the best value signing the Vikings made on all their free agent moves.
One of the guys, or one of the things I saw about him, or one of the things I really like about corners, is that they have great body control. And there's a clip of him turning, looking, seeing the ball coming up, in one hand tapping it to his other guy, and letting him get the interception. Because the way he was, just the body control on a player. Now, I don't think he's as physical as some guys can be, but I just feel like he can turn and run with people, and he can close. He's a willing tackler. He's not afraid of it, I don't think. But his cover skills and going with some down the field and being able to track the ball, I think are really important for a corner. And yeah, I was like, that's my dark horse. Like, wow, nice pick. Pick. I'm going to save the lineman or offensive lineman for last, but here's a guy, Bubba. Tell me about Bubba Bolden. Just
I
a
know
body.
he was a
I hear
UFO guy,
I hear he's a
Cleveland Brown.
I hear he's a
Yeah,
special teamer.
he's if he makes the team, I'll be surprised. If I'm being honest, the only thing I really know about him is that he has the same agency as Byron Murphy, and that was why I honestly think he got signed the timing he did, because obviously you know the timeline. He signed, and then a couple hours later, Murphy re-signed with the team. Um, yeah, it was really really funny, but I don't think he's going to make the team. Maybe he'll crack the practice squad, but I'd be surprised he made the team. I would be.
So I know when Javon Hargrave got released, or was I don't know if it was going to be released or was released, or whatever. I immediately started people tagging him to us,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, okay, all right, I can see that, I can see why, but and then Jonathan Allen, like out of the gate was, and then he made the trip to the Minnesota. I was like, that's a lock. These guys are getting up there. Jonathan Allen's 30. I don't know. Hargrave, I don't think is as old,
No, he's
but
older. He's
he's
older.
older.
I
Hargrave
would
is
say
older.
32. I would say 32.
Okay. So they're short 2-year. Jonathan Allen 3 years, but again, it seemed like they were friendly contracts to us. But we've been hurting with no pass rush up the middle, and these guys got more, left in the tank. From videos, I think they do, but I want to hear your take on it.
No, I agree. I love it. I've always been a trenches guy. I've wanted this team to improve their trenches 6-7 years now. It's been a thing I've wanted for years, and they just haven't done it. These moves were great. Harrison Phillips is the biggest winner on this defense. The ability he's going to have now,
first and
I
second
could
down,
see him having
tackle, and then
I think he's going to have a career high in sacks. Harrison Phillips, just because he no longer will have to deal with as many double teams. Everyone's going to eat, and it's going to be fantastic.
Hargrave and Allen get double team a lot. From what I gathered. And then on their highlights, them making plays, they were double teamed. Yeah. And one thing I loved about Allen is that he didn't overcommit. He's got his eyes downfield. He knows where the quarterback is. The linemen don't, and he sets them up to like, okay, I'm gonna go this way. The quarterback's gonna step up from the pocket. Boom, swim right there, just smokes the quarterback. I'm like that guy knows what he's doing. That's his game smart. Hargrave looks like he was just beating one-on-ones, like no problem. They line him up at nose tackle in the center, and he was just blowing by the guy. So yeah, I think they were great. But my favorite pickup was so I don't know how many weeks ago, but on air I was like, you know, a guy I like, and I already was talking about how Will Fries was the guy I wanted, but I said, you know, another guy I like was Ryan Kelly. I'm like, let's get him. He's late. We can draft a replacement. He's definitely an upgrade. Sure, there's some injury risk, but you gotta gamble, man. You gotta gamble on an upgrade like that. He's a mean dude on the field. Just a mean dude on the field. And he's, how many Pro Bowls? 4 or something like that. Definitely a much better anchor than the current former center we had. And then I'm like, when he signed, that was a shock because there has been no talk about us really signing Ryan Kelly.
No.
People were throwing centers out there, but no one was saying, "Oh yeah, that guy could go to the Vikings." No one was saying it. I was like, so I didn't expect it. I was like, "Hey, that's a guy I like. It would be awesome to get Fries and Kelly." But when it came to to those 2 days, I was like, when Kelly signed, I'm like, oh fuck, we're getting Fries too now. Give me a side of fries with that, Kelly. And sure enough, Fries signs, and Fries was my number one go get. I know everybody was after Kansas City's right guard.
Trey Smith.
I'm like, Fries is gonna be cheaper, and he's a badass, in my opinion. Wait, tell me were you as excited as I was?
No, I was very. I mean, I couldn't stand Garrett Bradbury. I'm so happy he's gone. Would have loved to be able to trade him for something, just because of the lack of draft picks that we have.
If we could trade Ed Ingram, we sure as hell should be able to trade.
It was weird.
Center.
It was quite strange. I guess maybe something to do with the contract details. It's easier to get of a rookie deal. It is what it is. It doesn't matter that much. But Ryan Kelly, Will Fries, Darisaw, O'Neal, like this O line's nasty. They're now finally going to be the hammer and no longer the nail. And God, I'm so happy about that because that D line's going to be absolutely disruptive. And then you got an O line that's just going to punish and beat the crap out of people. It's been a long overdue. Thank God. I cannot wait to see it. Ryan Kelly, you're 100% right. Injury risk there, but you got to take chances, like you said. You cannot just be content with Bradbury. That was the one that surprised you most. Even as much a big Bradbury hater that I am, even I kind of just like, yeah, they're going to run it back. There's been no steam whatsoever. They're moving off of Garrett Bradbury. He's going to come back. He's got the experience. He'll help, easy transition for JJ. Even though I hated that thought process, I thought that's where they were going. Will Fries, though, oh my God, that guy beats the crap out of people. Him and Ryan Kelly with Brian O'Neill. They're gonna beat the crap out of people.
The thing that I love is the way they work together, and they that's
Yep.
when they're coming over here. There's gonna be that continuity. It's gonna spill over to Brandel. Brandel played a lot better when Darisaw was to the left of him. I think Brandel's still an average. He could be an average type player. I think he's potentially a better pass blocker than he is a run blocker. And it has a lot to do with the fact that he's 6'7". I mean, Jesus, he's 6'7". But having those two guys kind of answered what Kwesi says. You can't win in like January and February without the trenches, and he addressed both. But he also, we've tried to commit to this run game the last couple years. We finally honestly committed to it, and bringing in re-signing Aaron Jones, who's coming off his probably one of his career years, most carries of his career, should not be repeated. Hopefully.
No, it should not.
But 400 yards receiving is really important, and the fact that he's just a really good team guy, good locker room guy, just a leader on the team. But to pair him up with Jordan Mason, who, like you talked about, hammer and nail. Well, I think he's a little bit of a hammer, and you put him behind a hammer offensive line, we're going to move the fucking ball.
Oh, yeah. I completely agree. Honestly, this may have been the best offseason I've ever seen with the Vikings. Because they got to do it on the field, right? You can't be the offseason champions.
We're great on paper.
I always remember when anyone talks about the offseason, was the Eagles.
Won the Super Bowl 4 times, right?
The one that I remember vividly was the Eagles of Vince Young. I cannot remember the exact thing they called themselves, but ever since then, it was, what would they say? They're the best team on paper, whatever it was, many, many years ago when Vince Young joined the Eagles. Super team. There it is. Yeah, thank you. And ever since then, I've always said the offseason means nothing. You got to do it on the field. But I do love where this team's heading. Everything I've wanted. Trenches on the D-line, trenches on the O-line. Having that ability to run the ball 3rd and 1. You know it's coming, and you cannot stop it. That is what this Vikings team has dearly missed. How many times have we seen this team on 3rd and 1 and we quiver? Because we know, as fans, they're not going to get it. They're not. They just don't have the push. They don't have the anchor. It's going to be easy. And 7 out of 10 times that would be the case. But now, I'm confident. I know 10 times we're going to be picking up that first down, 3rd and 1.
I'm like, I hate being like 1st and goal at the 2 and we're in shotgun.
Yep.
And I'm like, what are you doing? I mean, get behind center. At least make it a possibility for the play action,
Yep.
But now I feel like we could line up and just say, hey, we're going to hand the ball off. It's going to be this guy. When he played against us, you could go back and look at him dragging people having to like catch. He's not a home run hitter, but he's not slow. He's pretty average, if not maybe a tad above average.
Mm-hmm.
I think he can read holes. The fact that he just hits them fast.
Yes.
I don't think he's a shifty guy. I don't think he's going to fake people, jocks into the rafters or anything like that. But that's not what we need. We
Nope.
need a guy. We need a guy to get that yardage, get that goal, and he's like a 5-yard per carry dude.
Yes, he is.
Which tells you a lot because even though 49ers have had a history of good old lines, it wasn't that great last year.
No.
So put it behind what we expect our line to be. It should pay off and pay off double this year. And I like the great thing about that is going into the draft. I know a guy brought this up. I'm not taking credit for it, but I forget his name. Is that we go into the draft, and I forget what he said, but I'll just say it the way I say it. We don't have holes to fill, and we could, maybe do, we could upgrade some places,
Sure.
but there's no specific like, holy shit, we got this need.
Mm-hmm.
These are going to be luxury picks. These are going to be best player available.
Mm-hmm.
We had only 4 draft picks, and it's like, we better hit on those.
Yep.
We need more picks to fill all these other holes. We need to do the Patriot way, just keep on trading down or trading off veterans, getting extra picks, throw spaghetti at the wall. We only have 4 picks, but now it's like, I'm not too worried about it. If there's a guy at 24, I'm not necessarily wanting to trade down like I was, but I'm okay with it because I think we did a draft 2.0 last night, and we traded down twice and got 2 extra picks. We probably could have got more, but we weren't greedy. And still got a really good D tackle at like 35. So yeah, that area is pretty rich with the players that fit our needs.
Yep.
So I'm pretty good about that. Where are you with the kind of a little side quest here? Where are you with that in the draft?
No, I'm pretty much on the same mindset. I would not hate if they traded down. I still think they will. Just because I do wonder if they're going to try to dip their toes in the safety spot and have a true heir apparent to Harry. But you can't really do that unless you go out of your way to take one in the first round, which wouldn't be my ideal scenario. But no, they can absolutely go BPA, and I hope they do. I do not want them to force a pick or a reach on a guy. Has not worked for this team in the past. Take the guy that you have highest on your board. And we know this for a fact. The only time they've truly done that in the Kwesi, Kevin O'Connell regime, where they stuck to the plan, they drafted Jordan Addison. If you draft a guy like that on your defensive line, you're in a great spot. And
you can't lose, I don't think, if you pick the right.
No.
And we traded up to get Dallas Turner, and we gave up a lot.
They did. Yep. And this is the thing. Like you said, you mentioned they only have 4 picks. That's why I love this free agency period. You did not put yourself in a situation where you have to reach and force things. You could do things how you want, how you see fit, and that's just going to be good for everybody. Also, I do want to shout out, we didn't mention him, Rondell Moore signed with us about an hour ago from the Cardinals. I love the move. Absolutely love it.
He did sign.
Yes, he did. He did. A little bit over an hour ago.
Because I was loving that he came in, and I know he went to see another team. Did he go see the Bears?
He visited the Bears, Titans today, and then he signed with us a couple hours ago. I love it.
Wanted that flexible water bug.
Yes.
Flexible.
Yes.
He's like a Powell, but better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, more dynamic.
Kevin O'Connell with him, the amount of versatility that he has. I love Jalen Naylor. I've always been a Naylor guy. I backed him pretty much since we drafted him in Michigan State. Still like him.
I call him the biggest value of the draft that year.
Yeah, for sure. For us, absolutely.
I was pretty excited about him.
And he's one of the few really good draft picks that Kwesi's had to this point. But Rondell Moore, I mean, the gadget player, the flexibility, the versatility. Kevin O'Connell is going to be, watering at the mouth. The things he could scheme now. Because you got to remember, that's your 3rd receiving option.
If you got
crazy.
Jalen Naylor as your 4th receiver, I'm like, yeah, you got pretty fucking good receivers.
Yeah.
My thought.
No, I agree.
Um,
I completely agree.
yeah, that's great news. I didn't know that. I've been like working my ass off. I was like, I had already kind of written it off.
So did I.
I kind of
Yes.
written it off. And because he's seen other teams, how'd you let him out of the building? Like, you must not have wanted him. And like,
It was
all
weird.
right,
Yeah.
it's not like he's like this high level, but he makes sense for us. That's the thing. It's you
Mhm.
make I'm excited now, man. That offense is
Yeah,
crazy.
I know.
Crazy.
It is
And
absolutely stacked.
I was a Cooper Cup signed Cooper Cup guy, but I get it. Expensive. Goes to
Yeah.
Seattle.
Yeah.
Sorry, he's gonna be with Sam Darnold though. Yeah,
Yeah.
football. But yeah, I was kind of wanting Cooper Cup, but this kind of fits us, and we
Yeah.
have a second receiver, and
Yep.
I still love Jalen Naylor. I know people were down on him for a couple of drops there in 2 games
Hmm.
there, but then he
Yeah.
came back and had a
Yep.
really
Well, the
killer
Green Bay
game.
game was massive.
Yeah, the Green Bay game. So
Sure.
yeah, I still love Jalen Naylor. He's still
I
my
agree.
guy. Yeah, kind of looking at and I was going to ask you about him, but departures. Let's see here. So extensions like Theo Jackson, that was kind of a no brainer.
It was a great move, though. I think they got ahead of it, and I think in a year's time, a lot of
He's
Viking
out
fans are
playing on
going to compare.
contract.
Yeah, it's going to be just like Metellus. It's going to be basically a carbon copy of Metellus. Everyone's saying, "What a great move by Quessy getting ahead of this by a year." Great decision by the Vikings. Because every time we've seen him, he straight up made plays. He picked off Jalen Hurts a couple years ago, picked off Geno in Seattle to finally end that drought. When we need this guy, when he's out there, he makes plays. I love this move. And I love
And
Cam Bynum, but
people rave
that's
about
a
him
great decision.
and people, and I'm going to ask about him next. And people rave about him in the preseason, Theo Jackson. Like, he stands out in preseason. So now
Yeah.
he's going to get his opportunity, and I'm excited for it. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, we can turn the page on Cam Bynum.
Yeah.
I know it was great to have around. I love the whole dancing thing, and there's nostalgia there. But I'm not going to pay $15 million for that.
No.
Theo Jackson, I think, is not a downgrade. And that was just my opinion. But you brought up Byron Murphy Jr., and when DJ Reed went to the Lions, I'm like, yeah. And then the day got later and later. I'm like, yeah, we're re-signing Brian. We're
Yep.
re-signing Murphy, or this is gonna be a bust.
Yep.
I'm like,
Yep.
now we got to sign Murphy,
Yep.
and he didn't go as high as people said he was
No.
gonna go.
No. Well, you just seen the last couple of days, the quarterback market has only increased. I mean, I'm forgetting his name. Derek Stingley. He's got 30 a year from Houston. Byron Murphy, I knew when I saw all these corners coming out the board, like, there's no way. The Vikings know the need they have a corner, and they're not quietly behind the scenes negotiating with him. And then the report came out from Alec Lewis that they're still discussing with Byron. I'm like, yeah, they're getting this done. It's going to get over the line. And then it did. No, I love the contract. For a guy to come off the season he had, you didn't have to even make him the highest paid corner in football or anything crazy like that. And he could have had leverage at the time to surpass or be very close to J.C. Horn at $25 million, which at the time would have been highest paid corner. You got him at 22, I believe it was a year. It's a great contract. Given the circumstances, it was well done. I would have loved to see them do it a year earlier.
I think the initial thought it was 3 years, 66, but I think it worked out to be like closer to 18.
Yeah, they did a great job with the deal. They did.
Reports on that. But either way, at 22, I was like, it was a need. It will
Mm-hmm.
We can't let this guy go.
No.
Of course, I know you were holding your breath on whether or not we were going to extend Ryan Wright at punter. Much like me, I was like, God, you better re-sign this guy. But I mean, he was kicks inside the 20. He was like top 15 or whatever. But his rookie year, he looks so promising. But he hasn't really. He's a great holder, I think.
Yes.
He can hold the ball.
I'm not gonna lie. Was I celebrating? No. I've thought about this though. It was cheap. Not a lot of guaranteed money.
Like,
no, and that's the thing. Punter. That's the thing. He's not Jeff Locke. You know what I mean? He's not Jeff Locke. He's not great, but you bring in a UDFA to compete with him, and if he beats him out, who cares? It's a 1-year deal. And like you said, he is decent. He doesn't have those Corey Berhortes punts where I used to see from the Bills, where he just shanks it. He hasn't had a kick where he shanks it 15 yards, 20 yards. Like, it's not the best at times, but he is decent. He is a respectable punter that you can not have to worry about tremendously. And he is a good holder, like you said. He really is. So, and that is important because it's the Vikings. We don't need to worry about field goal kicking again because this team has a long history of that.
So let me point out some departures here. One guy, I was like, I just feel like the Vikings didn't love him enough, was Nick Mullins. I'm like, I felt like what he brought to the table was a team guy. I felt like he knew the offense like the back of his hand.
Yeah.
Like, it just seemed like he knew where everybody was going to go. Be checks at the line. You don't see backup quarterbacks doing what he does when he steps in there, right? We had the 400-yard game and shit like that. He almost beat the Lions twice. Our defense can't stop anybody, and he had to press, and he threw picks because of it. But the fact that he knew his role, he helped Cousins. He was like wanting to make the team better. I just like, God, we need that guy back. Need a guy like that. But right now, we haven't at this point at recording. We have not signed a guy yet, right?
No.
We still got Rippon as our backup.
Brett Rippon, which it's funny. And I'm not trying to crap on Brett Rippon, okay?
Go ahead.
But he's not a quarterback too, is he? Like I believe it's 4 touchdowns, 9 picks in his career. Like a 50s. He's a QB3. He's a nice guy. I liked Mullins too.
And that's why I was like, why'd we get rid of Jaron Hall for this guy?
I'm not going to be the Jaron Hall guy. I think you know that.
But Jaron Hall is more promising than Rippon.
Well, yeah, I guess as an actual player, as an actual upside ceiling, I guess. I do think there's a little bit more potential. And they did want to bring him back. Like he did go to Seattle. Like they did want to retain Hall last year. But with Mullins, I agree with everything you said. And people are saying, "Oh, you two Kirk Cousins fans or whatever." The things he did with Cousins, you do have to respect it. Like you do. The fact he taught him how to pick up plays and calls faster by listening to it back in the car driving. Like that is cool teammate stuff to do. And he didn't have to do that. I always appreciated Nick Mullins. I do think he was a little bit too reckless, but at least the guy was a good locker room guy, and it was a fun time. He's slinging around, and at least you enjoyed watching some of the recklessness. It was like a car crash. You couldn't look away. It was kind of entertaining to watch.
He just did not have the arm strength to make the throws.
No, he thought he was Favre. Went to Southern Miss, did not have the arm of Favre.
Like Favre, just with arm strength.
Yes. Yep. It's exactly what it is.
And physically, he was not a big guy.
No.
But now, obviously, we're pretty happy we moved on from Garrett Bradbury. Trent Sherfield, I thought, now I'm not too worried about not having him because we just signed guy from
Rondo Moore.
And then we have Jaron Hall, and so I'm not too worried about that. I actually felt good about Patrick Jones moving on because now Dallas Turner can kind of blossom.
Yep.
We did. I don't know. You were probably sad like this because we lost, and this is a big loss. The best third tight end in football, Johnny Munt. I'm gonna miss the tight end screens, man, to Johnny Munt.
I'm not gonna lie, and this is gonna sound really petty. The minute he screwed up that onside kick in Chicago, I was like, you know what? Screw you, Johnny Munt. Like, man, you are blocking tight end. And you're not even paying attention.
No, he was supposed to block the guy so the guy behind him could get it, and
it was so bad. What was crazy? It looked like he wasn't paying any attention. And I get it, you're blocking, but you got to be somewhat self-aware. The ball literally smacks. Right? Like, come on, man! Like, at least look. If you try to get out of the way and it hits your ankle, okay, I can live with that. It literally. I'm pretty sure it hit him right in the thigh because he wasn't even looking.
Yeah.
But no, I won't miss Johnny Munt. And he was funny enough. He went to Jets with Mullins. Josh Oliver, TJ Hawkins. I'm sure they'll draft the guy or bring some other guy in at tight end. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, it
And
seems
by the
like
way,
tight
Patrick
ends.
Jones, DJ Wadham 2.0 in Carolina. That's all that's going to be. But anyway.
Yeah. So, what'd you just say? Tight ends. They seem to be coming like a dime a dozen now. Like everybody.
Yeah.
Tight ends. There's a lot of tight end talent in drafts and guys coming out of nowhere. And honestly, I think Johnny Munn for his service. There was some plays that he's made and stepped in there when we needed him. I like the fact that Oliver kind of blossomed a little bit while we were waiting for a guy to come back. But Jerry Tillery, he didn't do much this past year. I wasn't too worried about him moving on. I know people were all hyped about trying to re-sign Daniel Jones to be our backup, but I'm like, if we're playing our backup, we're having a bad season. So,
yep. Or something bad happened.
Yeah, something bad happened, but I wasn't all excited about having another reclamation project, or any competition. I don't think JJ McCarthy needs competition to motivate him. So I'm not.
Reports came out that Jones was scared of him, and I believe it. I bet he believes he couldn't beat out JJ McCarthy in a quarterback battle. And it's funny. I have to mention it. I got to have my little moment here in the sun. I told everyone and anybody willing to listen to me that Anthony Richardson isn't any good. He's not going to make it to the NFL level properly. He will be beat out by Daniel Jones in training camp for the Colts. And that says all you need to know.
So when we were drafting him, I said he needed 2 years sitting behind Cousins. That's
he was wrong.
I was like in 2026, he'd be ready. He could be ready, get developed by Cousins and Kevin O'Connell, and if we re-sign Cousins, he would make sense. If we extended Cousins 2 years, but right now we only got him for 1. He would make sense. I guess 2025 because that would
25, yeah. For 25.
We were able to get him, but because this was the 23 draft,
mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah we could, that would make sense for us, okay? But I'm not going to trade 3 first-round picks to go up to 5 to get him, because I didn't think I don't think he was ready, but I was intrigued by all the physical abilities that he brought to the table, and he had a strong freaking arm. I seen him roll out to the left, just turn and throw it 80 yards downfield. It's insane how much arm strength that kid has. But again, it might be a different story if he was with us. But Daniel Jones going to Indy, he could beat him out there. He has probably a better chance. I think if he would have came with us, spent 1 year stayed with us, 1 year O'Connell, McCarthy gets injured, and he steps in and plays good, it'd be more valuable than him going to Indy and sucking right away. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The chance of him sucking right away could end his career that year. But he can't pass up $14 million. I mean,
no, and I think he wanted to start. And I'm not going to crap on Daniel Jones for making that decision, to be honest. Like, I get what he was doing, but I actually do agree with you. His better option probably would have been staying with the Vikings. I mean, I'm happy he's gone. I didn't want him back. And
I said, the same contract as Darnold, 5 years with incentive, $5 million with incentive.
But
we weren't paying 14.
And this is the thing. Funny enough, you mentioned Sam Darnold. I was about to say, I would have hated that contract just like I hated Sam's. I'm glad they just fully say no. Well, mind you, the Vikings did actually make an offer, so I can't actually give them that much credit. But they knew it would not be a good idea for $14 million, and he got what he got. It is what it is. I am surprised that he wasn't a little cheaper, like Sam was, but I guess people still believe he has potential because he did win a playoff game and he has shown attributes that aren't complete crap. But with Indy's O-line, like we just took 2 of their starters. It's not getting better in Indy. So good luck to Daniel Jones. Though I don't have a bad thing to say about him.
There was an Indy fan that was like, "Oh my God, what are we gonna do?" Because we let Fries go, and I'm like, "Sorry, dude. I'm sorry, dude. I'm pretty fucking happy right now." Because that was my one. I love it. I just feel so smart when guys I totally have like when I look at this list, I would have never thought we would have got Jordan Mason, but
That was out there.
that is a trade and a half.
Yeah.
5th round swap, and then we gave him a 6th round and 26.
Yep.
But when I'm looking at this, I was like, okay, I wanted Kelly, I wanted Fries. I knew Allen was coming. When Hargrave got dropped, I was like, okay, that might be a good idea. But just to have guys, guys I wanted be drafted makes me feel like I actually know something about football. But you brought up something about giving somebody credit even though they tried to they made an offer, right? And I'm like, when fans go out there and say, stick to the plan, Kwesi, you have no idea what the plan is. They just tried to extend and this was last year. They tried to extend Kirk Cousins. They wanted him back. They talked about how they think this is going to get done. And then the combine happened and it was like the talk happened and like, oh shit, we're going to lose them. And then they just changed their tone of voice because obviously they found out what he's probably getting offered. So they obviously had to adjust, and now and Sam Darnold came about. Or if they offer Sam Darnold some money to stick with us, I'm like, you don't know what the plan is. The plan is to win, and they're thinking about winning this year.
Yeah.
Obviously, they still have plenty of cap room because they are going to try to win every game this year. There's no such thing as rebuilding with Kwesi.
No, not now. Especially not now.
He's trying to win this year and next year and every year because they want their jobs. They want their jobs. And that's why, that's my anti-tanking speech.
Yeah. I've always said this about tanking. It can work. But the thing that I don't think enough people understand, and even though I'm not going to sit here and say I've loved everything we've done, because there is a part of me that would have loved if we threw away all those games after Kirk went down a couple years ago and just went with Jaron Hall and whatever happened. But the thing that people when they talk about tanking and losing, the part they don't really, at least aren't willing to admit or concede is, okay, yeah, it's easy to tear it down. It's extremely easy to tear it down. Building it back up is extremely difficult. It's not as easy as people think it is. And even Kwesi's been on record saying, yeah, it's easier to blow it up and try to build it from within. It's not easy, though. It's not. And, everybody doesn't have to love it. But you know what? These guys are talking the big talk, and they've shown it. Like, at the end of the day, the only bad year we've had under O'Connell was an MVP Kirk Cousins season being taken away from him tearing his Achilles in Green Bay. If he stays healthy, that team absolutely wins 10 or 11 games and makes the playoffs. They do.
Yeah,
I'm convinced of that to this day.
Yeah, we win the Bears game. We win the Denver game. We're 8-4.
We would have beaten the Lions. We would have beaten them.
Again, maybe one of the Lions games.
Yes. Yeah.
We would have been 8-4 instead of we ended up being like we ended up being 6-6.
Was it 6 and what was our final record? 6-11?
7, I think we won 7.
Was it 7? Was it 7-10? It was one of the two.
Yeah, we beat the Raiders. And
the 3-0.
Yeah. I don't think. Well, anyways, but for you have to say, okay, then we would had to have patience with Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell for 3 years of sucking, right? It's like
yes, at least 2.
At least 2, right?
Yeah.
And we went in the first year. We won 13 games, and like, oh, we're a paper team. No, we were a defensive coach probably away because Flores basically took that defense and made it average at least is in his first year. And now look at us. There's people saying nobody's got any a better roster than some. There's some analysts out there saying there's nobody with a better roster. That's why they're thinking Aaron Rodgers go to the Vikings. There's not a better roster out there for a guy to go to, but it's not a better roster for a guy that's playing his first season with a team too. Tom Brady won a Super Bowl in his second year. He did not have a He did not have a Pro Bowl type year.
No, he
That
did
year in
not.
the league, he did
No,
not. He was
no.
pretty average. Game manager type shit.
Yep.
And they won a Super Bowl with that.
Yep.
Players can do this. And as far as tanking, the only guy I know that really purposely tanked as a coach is Jimmy Johnson. Is the only guy I know that purposely tanked as a coach, and he must have sold it to ownership, because when he made that trade and then didn't, and they were all like contingency draft picks based on the playing time of the players we traded them, and he benched them on purpose so they would lose games. And then they went 1-15 with him in his first year, and then they go on. The rest is history. That's the only time that's worked, is when the coach didn't give that he literally purposely tanked and had the backing of the ownership.
Yes.
You cannot tell me another team that I couldn't even imagine.
Or at least that it worked with. But that's the thing. Even if other teams have done it, that it actually worked. It is like the Bills for years were crap before they had Josh Allen. The Bengals were
Josh Allen, he wasn't that good his first 2 years.
No, he wasn't, because it's hard. It's not easy. Like, people don't understand that, and I am not going to sit here and say,
would Will Fries come here if we tanked last year?
No, probably
Ryan
not.
Kelly, would Kevin Hargrave?
No.
None of these
especially
guys.
Especially Javon Hargrave, no chance. Well, and I completely agree. The winning culture thing, when it works, it is a far better thing, because you have the league-wide recognition. Kevin O'Connor just won Coach of the Year. Like, that matters. I don't care what anyone says. That matters. And the thing is, I'm not going to lie. I can't speak for you, Dave, but when I was talking about the Vikings season last year, in predictions, I had a 6 or 7 win team. Maybe 5. Like, the job Kevin has done with Flores as his DC does not get enough credit.
So the way I was looking at it, I thought our defense was going to improve so much that no matter how we went with quarterback, I said there was no reason we couldn't win 10 games.
Okay.
With the team, because the defense would have been improved so much. And,
should have hit the over. Would have been easy cash. Yeah, easy cash.
The last time I remember one time I bet a Cowboy fan, and then I bet a guy I was just hating on my Vikings. Guy says we wouldn't win 3 games, and it was Adrian Peterson's 2,000-yard season, and I was like, I don't know, man. I think okay. How about and we made a bet like $10 for every game over, or $10 every game under. And I won $70 from that guy.
Yeah,
and then I bet a Cowboys fan that we would have a better record than they did, and I bet $100. So I won $170 from these 2 dudes.
There you go.
On that season. And I was adamant about it. I thought offensive line, we're gonna run the ball. Defense is all right. It's like I think we're in our division, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna be fine. And so I feel like I know people think I'm pretty overly optimistic, but I haven't been wrong. I mean, these last 3 years, I was like, I picked us to win 12 games in 23 or 22.
22. Okay.
I picked us to probably win 13 last year, and then I was like 10 or better. I didn't make that my floor, but I said there's no reason we couldn't win that. So I feel like I've been pretty fucking right. I'm like, I think I got a track record here. I think I'm pretty good.
I think it speaks volumes, though, to Kevin and Kwesi. I do. I think these aren't the same old Vikings. That you could say whatever you want. The way they have gone about this, the culture feels so much different. The mindset, like, it wasn't just words. Championship standard, they mean it, and you can see that. And I appreciate that, because we've been told a lot of crap over the years as Viking fans, and a lot of it's just filler. These guys mean it. And that's why players have gone out of their way to join the Vikings now. They could see it. But I will say this. That kid, JJ McCarthy, he's got to play good out of the gate, because, man, pulling for him. I feel for him though because there's been a crap ton of pressure on him now.
Yeah. One of the things I tell people something I heard players say and coaches and in baseball a lot too. Every year is a different team. It's not the same team every year. Every year it's
Nope.
a different team. Could have almost all the same players, but it's a different team. And we found that out in '99. We still had a pretty decent team though. But we had benched our quarterback after 2 games, and Jeff George took over. And then we have 2010, we thought, oh wow, we still got a fucking
Favre's
great
back, yeah.
team. Favre's back, and we were horrible. And
Yeah.
it has a lot to do with the culture, keeping that motivation. It's tough to do what the Chiefs were about to do, win a 3rd straight Super Bowl, and I picked the Eagles to win that game, but I just thought they had the best team in the league.
Yeah.
Every team is different, and so every year you cannot put expectations, because look how many times that we had expectations and just that next year after we got our heart broken, that next year we were just down in the dumps because we weren't playing the same way as we did the year before.
No.
And that's what I'm saying is, like, I had so many people, we can't win this year. We might as well just worry about 2026 or whatever. I hear that every year, it seems. I'm like, you have no idea how this team could just gel. And a perfect example of that is the Commanders.
Yeah.
Perfect example is they were expected to be one of the 4 worst teams in the league, at least. And what did they end up doing? They fucking almost go to the Super Bowl. It's like,
yeah.
So yeah, any given year, a team could just gel. You get the right coach and enough talent. Yeah, and like, you ever heard of no name defense? That's they because there's no stars. You can't tell me that a team can't just gel or get it, or the scheme, or throwing a new wrinkle out there that just people haven't caught up to yet. But but in this case, how many freaking weapons we're going to throw on offense and defense at these teams is just going to could be potentially just overwhelming to mask a young quarterback. Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl, man. I'm like, let's go.
I hope so. I'd love to see it. Also, Brad Johnson with the Bucs. He wasn't as bad as Dilfer.
Brad Johnson's is underrated as a quarterback. He's underrated as a quarterback.
Yeah, but I'm talking about for Super Bowl winners, he would be near the bottom. But no, Trent Dilfer's crap. Yeah, he's the worst to ever win a Super Bowl. First and only quarterback to win a Super Bowl and be released. And that record will never be broken.
Probably not. You usually would extend the guy, right?
At least keep him on the roster, for God's sake. That's how bad he was.
Was it Gerback that replaced him? Who was the guy that replaced him? It wasn't good.
I have no idea. Well, there was wasn't there? It was a white guy. Didn't he have like a big arm? Kyle something? Maybe I could be wrong. My timeline might be off there. But
I would have to.
Anyway, doesn't matter. The Ravens didn't replace the Ravens. Yeah, they're the wrong purple team. They're the purple team with success. Screw them. I completely agree.
So, just last question. NFC North.
Yeah.
If you on paper right now, give me the 4.
The standings.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Bears last. I don't think they're as good as people think they are. I'm gonna go Packers 3rd, us 2nd, Lions 1st. But it's, can JJ transition that fast? Because if he can, I do think Detroit will be worse this season. They're not winning 14 games, or was it 15 games? They would have won. They're not doing that again. No, I'm wrong, because they were 14-3 as well, I believe. If that's why, had we beaten them, we would have gotten the division.
Lost the last game on purpose. Oh, they didn't play their starters. Last game.
No, I believe heading into that was us. Yeah. But I believe, if my memory serves it correctly,
heading into playing.
Yes. That's something there. There was one of the games that they were at 3 losses. At least I think so. Doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, I think we're gonna.
They won
We
15
have a
games
chance.
because we would have if they would have lost.
Okay, I was wrong. Not that it matters.
If we would have lost, we would have had the same record as them. If I
Okay,
remember right.
okay. So basically, my overarching point is this: I don't think Goff's as good as people think he is. I think the Lions.
I forget. Never mind.
It doesn't matter. The Lions got poached so badly, and I don't think people have talked about that enough. You lose your DC, you lose your OC, you lose. I think they lost 3 other assistant coaches. Like that matters. That matters massively. And Goff is not that guy. We couldn't pressure Goff enough because our interior wasn't good enough. With Javon Hargrave, Jonathan Allen, it changes the narrative. Again, if JJ can be what we believe he will be, we can absolutely win the division. And some people call me crazy because I know across the board, all the betting odds were 4th. I think that's crazy. And that's coming from a guy who has always said, I try to be very realistic, pessimistic, whatever term you want to use. I just think this team is that good. They really are.
So here where I'm at. Let me preface. Marvin Lewis, Cincinnati, took them to the playoffs 3 years, I don't know how many years in a row with Andy Dalton.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as they lost Zimmer and Gruden as their coordinators, he was fired 2 years later. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's the Lions. That is the Lions right now. Sure, they have talent, right? They all have talent, but they just lost their OC, their DC. They poached assistants. Their head coach Dan Campbell had people running. He had people. He wasn't the brains behind the operation. He was the motivation behind the operation. And
sure.
You still need those skill. You're bringing in brand new people, right? Sure, you have talent. But like you said, everybody else got better. They did. I don't think they got.
They haven't done much of free agency either. Aside from DJ Reed, they haven't done much.
Yeah, for me, they didn't get better. They got older. They got the coaches left. So for me, I think the Packers are young and a good team. So they're still young. They're the youngest team in the league, and they make the playoffs the last 2 years. So for me, I feel like we got more talent than them. I think our defense is going to be just amazing this year. I got us number 1. I got the Packers number 2. I got the Lions 3, and I got the Bears 4. I just think that that matters. Losing all those coaches, because Dan Campbell is not the brains behind the operation. And if anything, he sometimes held him back with decisions he made.
Especially in the NFC title game. There's no debate.
Yeah.
100%.
He lost that game for him.
Yeah. You can't go for that. Yes. If he kicks one of the 2 field goals when they went for it, just one, they win that game. And I was pulling for the Niners, obviously.
Go up 3 scores.
Yes.
That's the play.
It's crazy.
That it just extends the game.
Yep.
You're playing like you're behind. It's like, well, that's fine to play like you're behind, but you're just it's just a no-brainer to go up by 3 scores.
Yes. It was reckless, just reckless.
If it didn't work the first time, do it the second time,
Yeah. No, that's a good point. If they missed a field goal, yeah, fair enough. Then I could see going for it. That makes sense. But yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah. Well, you heard it here, folks. Vikings are winning the division. I said it. I'm gonna add another championship to this to our 19 or 20. I forget. We're still the division leaders in division championships. But hanging the banner for that. No Super Bowls yet. And thank God
the wrong banner.
Haven't won yet. We're gonna win one before the Lions. Damn it! All right, it was nice having you on, man. Stick around. Skol Vikings.
Appreciate it. Skol.